The ayes to the right, 298. The noes to the left, 56.
In other words, 4-0. 4 votes in 2 days, every single one lost by the Prime Minister. Boris Johnson's authority over the Commons is non-existent, which is why he wanted a new Commons. He tabled a motion which would have prompted an early general election. It was not to be. They needed a 2/3 majority, and Labour and others abstained.
I think he has become the first, to my knowledge, the first leader of the opposition in the democratic history of our country to refuse the invitation to an election, Mr. Speaker.
So Johnson hinting he will ask again in the coming days, offering assurances, perhaps, that the election will be before Brexit Day. Jeremy Corbyn, though, was unrepentant.
Let this bill pass and gain royal assent, then we will back an election so we do not crash out with a no-deal exit from the European Union.
Protests continued outside Parliament against Boris Johnson, but it was the lacerations inside that stung all day. From MPs who were Tory MPs until they were stripped of their whip yesterday, the Prime Minister was ripped apart.
I do think the Prime Minister, with the greatest respect, has a tremendous skill in keeping his straight face whilst he's being so disingenuous.
I'm meant to believe that the Prime Minister is really doing this because he has a vision for the people in this country. He has a vision that comes to him every night, and it is his own face.
This certainly was a topsy-turvy day in Westminster, even by recent standards. An opposition choosing not to vote for a general election when they have the chance. They wager that they'll be able to force Boris Johnson to obtain an extension, make him look weak, and then get a general election in November on their terms. It certainly confounded the government's expectations. It could be a masterstroke, but on the other hand, in refusing a precious, precious opportunity to displace them, they could come to sorely regret it. So no election, not yet. In the meantime, this Prime Minister remains trapped, powerless, commanded by the Commons, rather than commander, without any obvious means of escape.
And as mentioned in the hours since that piece was filed, we've seen this development in the House of Lords, where the peers have agreed to pass, albeit by the end of Friday, this bill that takes no-deal Brexit off the table, insists on that 3-month extension, pushing it into early next year, and that'll go back to the House of Commons, presumably, given the votes we've seen over the last 48 hours pass through there as well. So what will Labor do once that does become law? If that does become law, we need to be careful in predicting too much about what's going to happen here. Will Labor then agree to the election that it's been calling for? Will there be an election before that Brexit date that currently stands of October 31?